Hi folks, hope y'all are well. I had anticipated this would coincide with the release of my next anthology, as one of the stories is set on the Permian Islands and has a dragon as one of the point of view characters, but we're very behind on that deadline. I will be making a video focusing on the dragon characters of that novella, but I made these sketches in August, and as of recording, we're already in November. This won't be a full video packed with all of the dragon sketches I've made over the past few months, just an overview of the prompt list from August, but best believe there will be more dragon episodes in the near future. If you want to know more about the Dragons of Kaimere, I will post links to the video on their homeland and of the dragons themselves in the description below. As a quick recap, Dragons in Kaimere are Aborfell therians, a very derived clade of venomous therocephalians, which are a type of stem mammal that resemble small versions of the more famous gorgonopsids. Dragon is often used as a clade, though it also specifically applies to Dracotherium halifel, an animal that was once domesticated and enhanced in size before going feral as they are in modern times. These feral dragons retained some of the traits of domestication, such as great size, tremendous individual variation in both horn shape and the color and pattern of their pelts. Dragons are apex predators of these islands. They spray venom from long fangs. This venom is usually used to weaken prey with acidic and toxic properties, but is also a display feature, with these feral dragons inheriting a wide array of shapes and colors in their venom display. Without further ado, here are the Dragons of Smaugust with a prompt list by Dinoboy Studios. Day 1. Prompt Ancestral. The wild ancestor of modern feral dragons was an apex predator of montane habitats. They were much smaller than modern ferals, around 100 kilograms. Day 2. Prompt Prehistoric. Back during the Tyrant Dynasty, the clade included ancestors of dragons were primarily gliders. Powered flight had evolved, but was only late in the dynasty. Some gliders are yet present in closed forests, though powered flight generally dominates. Day 3. Prompt Migratory. Migration is important for many dragons. Establishing a territory with reliable year-round game is a privilege few dragons enjoy for more than a few years. Most need to travel to get by, especially by following prey migration. Day 4. Prompt Herding. Dragon venom is often used to blind or asphyxiate prey. However, many targets have developed facial features to resist its effects. There's enough acid in their breath to be painful, and some dragons just use it to corral prey to favorable kill sites. Day 5. Prompt Pack Hunting. Though adult dragons are mostly solitary, juveniles are quite social. For the first few decades of their lives, they form cohorts of other dragons of similar age. With 5 members, this is a typical group of dragons around 7 years old. Day 6. Prompt Social. As previously stated, adult dragons are solitary, but young are quite social. Hatchlings of the same clutch start together. They join large mixed-sex coalitions in their 2nd or 3rd year, then break off into smaller same-sex groups by around 5 to 7 years of age. Often these later groups are siblings, and it's not uncommon to remain together until maturity, and sometimes even work together to establish a territory. The demands of a group of adults on a local ecosystem is usually enough to fracture the coalition by adolescence, however. Day 7. Prompt Burrowing. Dragons prefer to sleep in caves. Natural caves are favored, but sometimes they take over the den of a large palathier. They may need to dig it out wider to accommodate their greater size, but that's much easier than excavating on their own. Day 8. Prompt. Coastal. Wild dragons could get by on 40 to 50 pounds of meat a week. This number skyrocketed as domestication and magic enhanced the size of feral dragons now dominating the population. Many get their required calories by scavenging coastlines, and competition for large corpses can escalate quickly. Day 9. Prompt. Oceanic. A bull Tiamat displays a vibrant cloud of venom. These marine dragons don't use their venom to bring down prey. Instead, the trait has been repurposed for terrestrial and sexual display. Day 10. Prompt. Fan art. House of the Dragon has given us some fantastic dragon depictions. Some of the best in media, in my opinion. Figured I'd kick off the fan art prompts with Caraxes, the bloodworm. Day 11. Prompt. Desert. Deserts can be quite good hunting grounds for dragons. Large animals travel efficiently, so do well in deserts with scattered forested oases, and these provide food for dragons who can see quite far in such open territory. Day 12. Prompt. Mountainous. The wild ancestor of modern feral dragons was a mountain-dwelling predator. Though the size of feral dragons means mountains often lack sufficient game to support them, many still prefer roosting on mountains than flying out to hunt a few times a week. Day 13. Prompt. Polar. A group of Jotunhundir, a marine dragon, patrol for fish off the coast of the North Polar continent. Day 14. Prompt. Forest. A large bull dragon has spotted a herd of prey on the forest floor, but struggles to find a place to make land. Though their 5-pound ancestors were arboreal, forests are a challenge for adult modern dragons. A challenge, but also a great temptation. There's a lot of large game within forests who enjoy sanctuary from the modern giant ferals. Some dragons still hunt in forests, either walking or spraying from above, but there's no end of dangers to this strategy. A grounded dragon, especially one who has already sprayed, is in no position to fight. Day 15. Prompt. Sophont. According to legend, the bond between dragon and rider involved telepathy and influence of each other's thoughts and personality. Too much time spent bonded could result in an entirely Sophont dragon and a mentally impaired rider. Day 16. Prompt. Grassland. Prairies are often a favored terrain of dragons. Flight affords them superior speed to any terrestrial grazers, and they can often weaken prey with minimal threat to themselves. However, no hunt is without risk. Here, an adolescent dragon was overzealous in attack, and his manticore prey retaliated with several quills to the young buck's wing. Day 17. Prompt. Flightless. A dragon, having lost much of her left wing, is forced to hunt on the ground. At nearly 2 tons, she is quite capable of chasing most other dragons from their kills, and the beach provides enough for her to survive. Day 18. Prompt. Kaiju. The largest dragon known from partial material has a skull just under 3 meters long and a 30-meter estimated wingspan. However, legend tells of much larger beasts. The many-horned king features in many codices and was said to stand as tall as the palace walls, which was also the structure from which he had to be mounted. The truth of these claims are likely exaggerated, and the many-horned king is probably a myth, but this reconstruction estimates his hypothetical dimensions based on the remaining segments of the old palace walls. Day 19. Prompt. Domesticated. The details of dragon domestication are unknown. What accounts exist were recorded by the Isatueti when domestication was already established. It is generally assumed they were wild dragons who were familiars to witches, and only through magic were they domesticated. At between 70 and 100 kilograms, these were far too small to reliably ride, and would likely have been used more like falconry than as mounts, as they were in their height during the age of dragon riders. Breeding them for such sizes as they attained as mounts likely took several dozen generations, with lineages enhanced by their witch companions, but again, this is all conjecture. Day 20. Prompt. Fan art. The Anjimir, or Windbane, is the flagship dragon of the Eyes of Tiamat project by Memo Clown King. Thanks to a lightly built frame from a recent small ancestor and skin coated in aerophobic oils, these giant dragons can fly at a staggering pace for their size. Day 21. Prompt. Serpentine. For reasons unknown, long necks are a frequent mutation amongst feral dragons. Additional vertebrae are common, with up to 12 in the most extreme examples. These dragons have smaller heads and usually no horns, likely due to the obvious selective pressure of large horns growing at maturity, leading to poor fitness with long necks. They excel at hunting in tight spaces and catching smaller game. Many assume they were favored for snatching riders, supported by Art of Dragons, often showing long-necked dragons biting at riders, even doing so while passing overhead. It is generally assumed that, as wyverns of Septenia have this trait, it was likely through breeding with this related species, though without genetic studies this remains speculation and it could be an independent expression of this unusual trait. Day 22. Prompt. Avian. Though they are closer to mammals than birds, dragons share traits with many other Aborifaltharians more similar to avians: branching filaments. These filaments are often called hair as they are likely homologous to mammal filaments. However, branching filaments may have evolved to keep their tiny ancestors warm. However, in dragons, having branching filaments means their backs are shaded without much chance of overheating, as if the surface area was entirely shaded by full, thin hair. This is well and good for wild dragons, but at several tons, many modern ferals have lost most of their hair altogether. However, it seems the sunblock advantage is such that most retain branching hairs at least on their backs, top of their wings, and neck. Day 23. Prompt. Mammalian. Though a domesticated past means there's still great variation in covering, it is no surprise that the dragons of northern Septenia and its surrounding islands show an abundance of dragons with more substantial fur, with its specially dense winter coats. Day 24. Prompt. Reptilian. Wild dragons had hair. Up in their mountain homes, these human-sized predators relied on this branching insulation to stay warm and protect their skin from the sun. The increased size of many breeds now gone feral meant much of this hair has become a detriment. At such extreme sizes, many dragons in their southern range have heavily favored mutations of domesticated dragons without integument, or at least minimal, giving them a more reptilian appearance. Day 25. Prompt. Fish. With a fast metabolism, large size, and magic now encoded in their DNA, dragons often must rely on the ocean for sustenance. Beachcombing is generally sufficient, but some get a bit more proactive. Day 26. Prompt: Demonic. Magic can rarely take over and make demon a host larger than a few hundred pounds. The immune system of large hosts can usually defeat the infection. Like the infamous Vescalamaldus of Kajar, sometimes a young dragon is infected in a way that adults could repel. These dragons then become voracious. A larger demon means more powerful magic, which demands more food, which makes greater size. Soon these demons become enormous. However, eventually the cycle breaks. If it cannot get the food its now staggeringly expensive body needs, the magic then consumes the host. Thankfully, because of this, these dragons rarely live long, but they feel little pain and lack fear of feral dragons. They will readily assault villages. Dozens and even hundreds can be slain before the demon is vanquished, either by overwhelming injury or the consumption of its own magic. Day 27. Prompt: Monstrous. Though large dragons corner the market on reputation, a small morph called trovers are far more dangerous to people. Descendants of dragons bred for conflict in close quarters and reinforced instinct for surplus killing can quickly slaughter entire settlements. Day 28. Prompt: Angelic. A legend predating the Witch Lords and their dragon-domesticated companions was of the skin changers who could assume the form of dragons. Though the size of a man, these dragons were still formidable. They were said to be protectors of the common folk. Some say they opposed the dragon riders, calling the domestication of dragons a terrible sin. Naturally, the dragon riders were not fond of these dragonborn, and under their rule, the riders claimed the old champions were degenerate savages and were said to be hunted to extinction. Day 29. Prompt: Divine. According to codices in the Great Library, in the mythology of the Permian Islanders, wild dragons were generally seen as divine. Gods of good and evil, rage and tranquility, destruction and creation. Symbols of duality. Domestication in some ways stripped that sense of divinity, though of course those who held to the old ways had vindication when the rider civilization collapsed. Now the wrath of the dragons was magnified by their increased size. They were more divine than ever before, free, unchallenged, and redefining the culture and ecology of their domain. Day 30. Prompt: Fan art. The Red Racer by Sawyer Lee Art. I really dig the idea of a dragon that got around some of the challenges of digesting grass by cooking it. Also added to their being domesticated. So many fascinating dragons in this project, but this one is my favorite. Day 31. Prompt: Favorite Dragon Part 1 of 3. My sibling and I played a lot with Legos as kids. The Lego Dragon is a design I have a lot of nostalgia for. In so many ways, it's just a quintessential dragon. While I obviously enjoy making very distinct dragons and am quite drawn to dragons as shown in Westeros, there's something I deeply appreciate about this sort of design. Favorite Dragon Part 2 of 3. The animated Hobbit was another childhood favorite. The design of Smaug in that film is one I liked a lot, and no doubt influenced my own appreciation for mammalian dragons that you've seen in Kaimere today. Favorite Dragon Part 3 of 3. Anyone who's seen my posts on Twitter during the House of the Dragon run, I absolutely adore their design of Vhagar. A weathered, sagging, cranky old dragon is expertly shown in both appearance and behavior. I made a few minor adjustments in my rendition, namely in the wing folding and having her head directly referenced from a Tylosaurus skull, but overall her design is up there among my favorite dragons ever put to screen. And that's it for Smaugust. Thank you all so much for tuning in. These sketches helped me flesh out a lot of lore and anatomy surrounding the dragons as I was writing their novella. Looking forward to y'all's thoughts on it whenever the anthology is finished. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Cheers, folks!